The steady hum of the printer filled the otherwise quiet room, signaling the arrival of another Thursday evening. The air felt thick, weighed down by the exhaustion typical of the end of the week. In the kitchen, Lissa, my wife, was humming a tune I couldn't place, chopping vegetables with an odd brightness I hadn't seen from her in a while. Lately, she'd been different, more withdrawn, yet curiously more attentive. Felt like she was trying too hard to make up for something. When I got home from work, she greeted me with a kiss, something that had become rare in recent months, and told me she had a surprise for me. A weekend getaway. I was genuinely touched, feeling a sense of excitement that we hadn't had in ages. Life had a way of swallowing up our time, and the idea of escaping for a bit was a welcome change. Later, after dinner, she hurried off to grab something from the printer, and as I sorted through the mail, something caught my eye beneath the desk. A piece of paper was carelessly discarded. It was an itinerary for a weekend at a secluded cabin in the woods, and as I read through it, my heart took an awkward, painful flip. The words romantic hike, cozy fire, and wine tasting danced on the page, but it wasn't the sweetness of the idea that twisted my gut. It was the specifics. The instructions to meet at 3 p.m. in the parking lot, the mention of bringing a special bottle. This wasn't a surprise for me. My name wasn't even mentioned. I read it again, each word a sharp blow that made my chest tighten. The paper felt heavy in my hand, its weight matching the sinking feeling in my heart. When I confronted Lissa, her reaction said it all, her face drained of color, her eyes wide with fear. "I can explain," she stammered, her voice shaking like a leaf in the wind. Explain what? What was left to explain? She had a secret meeting planned, complete with coded instructions. The act she'd been putting on, the forced affection, came crashing down. I didn't scream. I didn't shout. I just stood there frozen, my insides turning to ice. The betrayal was real now, a poisonous presence twisting in my stomach. I could have demanded answers, raged at her, but instead, I chose to play along. "Of course you can," I said, my voice low and controlled. I folded the itinerary and slipped it into my pocket. "But maybe we should still go on that trip. You've put so much effort into planning it." She looked relieved, a flicker of hope in her eyes, completely misreading the cold calm that had settled in me. That hope was a mistake, her biggest one. The following day, I played the part of the oblivious husband perfectly. I helped her pack, feigning excitement for our romantic weekend. Beneath the surface, my mind was already working, calculating, building up to a slow, deliberate burn. The drive felt like it lasted forever. Lissa babbled nervously, trying to fill the silence with small talk about work, but I didn't respond much, just nodded occasionally, my focus fixed on the road. My anger simmered beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment. We arrived at the parking lot 15 minutes early. Lissa's nervous energy was palpable as she scanned the surroundings. At 2:55 p.m., a sleek black SUV pulled in and a man stepped out. A tall, broad-shouldered man, ruggedly handsome. It was him, the one she was meeting. His confident, almost arrogant air was immediately apparent. When his eyes landed on Lissa, they lit up. Then his gaze shifted to me, and his expression instantly hardened. "Who the hell is this?" he barked, his voice dripping with aggression, addressing Lissa but not breaking eye contact with me. Lissa went pale. "This is my husband, Daniel," she said, barely managing to speak. The man let out a harsh, mocking laugh. "Husband? Guess you forgot to mention that little detail," he said, taking a step toward me. "Why don't you go wait in the car?" He had mistaken my calm demeanor for fear, for weakness. That was his mistake. It was then that I let the anger truly surface, a primal, raw fury that had been building for so long. "I'm not leaving," I said, my voice unwavering, cold as steel. "This weekend is mine too." He smirked, confidence returning. "You're really going to make this complicated, huh?" His eyes stayed on me, but he directed the words to Lissa. "Look, I don't know what your game is, but this is between me and—" He paused, then glanced at Lissa. No," I interrupted, stepping forward. "This is between us." He chuckled, clearly thinking he was dealing with someone weak or naive. "All right," he said, clenching his fists before lunging at me. His punch came fast but wild, lacking precision. I saw it coming, ducked easily, and sidestepped. His bravado was obvious, but skill? The anger coursing through me sharpened my focus, turning me into something ruthless. I grabbed his arm, twisted it hard enough to make him grunt in pain, and spun him around. My fist slammed into his stomach, knocking the wind from his lungs. He doubled over, but I didn't stop. I drove my knee into his face with all my force, sending him reeling back. The fury didn't subside. Blow after blow followed, each one fueled by the bitterness of betrayal. He staggered back, blood trickling down his face, his once cocky smirk now replaced with a mix of pain and fear. The fight ended quickly after that. He was a wreck. Lissa watched, frozen. Her hand clutched over her mouth, her reality crumbling before her eyes. The life she kept secret laid bare. He coughed, trying to speak but struggling. "You think you're tough," he muttered. "No," I replied flatly. "I know I am." His eyes searched for help, but there was no one around. It was just the two of us and his shattered face. He turned to Lissa, but she couldn't bring herself to meet his gaze. "Look," he muttered. "I need your car keys." Lissa shook her head, her voice steady now. "Why?" "Because I need to get to a hospital and I'm not staying here," he said, turning back to her. He looked at me one last time, a sneer on his face. "You're crazy," he spat. "Give me the keys," he demanded, his voice still laced with defiance. Lissa glanced at me, then back at him. "I'm not giving you the keys," she said, her voice firm. It was the first time I'd ever seen her show any backbone. "Are you serious?" he asked, stunned. "I wish I weren't," she replied. He shot one last look at me, but my face remained unreadable. I'd said everything I needed to say through my fists. He turned, muttering something about walking back, and trudged off into the woods, blood dripping down his face. I turned to Lissa, my voice colder than before. "I think this trip is canceled, don't you?" She nodded, her tears streaming. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, barely audible. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say that could close the growing chasm between us. Without a word, I walked back to the car, leaving her behind, standing in the wreckage of her life. The drive home was silent. The tension was thick, suffocating. In that moment, I knew things could never be the same. The trust had been shattered beyond repair. And love? Well, it was probably gone. She begged for forgiveness, promised change, things she should have done long before, but I had stopped listening to her lies. The weeks that followed were a blur. We lived as strangers in our own home. I moved into the guest room, spending more time with old friends, reconnecting with the life I neglected for far too long. A life that had been consumed by someone who never truly valued it. I filed for divorce. She didn't contest it. I got the house, the car, and half of everything we built together. She moved into a small apartment, trying to reach out to me. I ignored her calls. When she sent flowers, I sent them back. I never saw the man again. I had people looking for him, but it seemed like he vanished, probably hiding from the humiliation and pain I delivered. He never did get to enjoy that special bottle. And Lissa? She had to live with the consequences of her choices. In the end, I realized I didn't need a grand display of revenge. The best revenge was simply walking away, building a life where she no longer had a place. The hurt still lingered, a dull ache in my chest. But I was healing. I was moving forward, leaving the broken pieces of the past behind. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was mine. And in the end, that was all that mattered.